my notes just say, it's a goddamn frog book. What the fuck? Hello and welcome to another episode of Cheap Smut. My name is Katie Mizell.
And my name is Carl Mizell.
And this is a podcast that will not let anything ruin this great day. Welcome.
Who are you saying welcome?
To you.
I'm a co-host. You don't have to welcome me.
I guess. Sorry.
You normally say, how are you?
How are you, honey?
I'm good. I was just confused. I didn't know who you were welcoming to the show.
I don't know. You could welcome them as well.
Well, that's what you usually do. You welcome the listeners, and then you ask me how I'm doing.
Okay. Okay. Well, now I just feel all confuddled.
Do we need to start it for a third time?
No. Let's just keep going, for the love of God. Okay. How are you, my love?
I'm so good. I'm really good. The dog is being a bit of a turkey. I don't like you. I don't really like you that much. But other than that, I am doing great. The dog is conspiring to try and make this harder than it needs to be, but I won't let him. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm pretty good. I feel like I've just finished the end of a very long and stressful work day. I haven't, but this is what I feel like. So, there's that.
I don't want to make it sound like it was a hard week. It was not a hard week. It was a different week.
Yes.
Because your mom was here with us for a couple of days.
Yeah. My mom came to stay with us because my dad was out of town and she doesn't like to sleep alone. So she came and slept on our couch for a few days. The toddler was very, very glad to have her here all day for 3 days with, her grandmother, and the older child was also very excited, but he didn't get as much time with her because he had to go to school.
Yeah. But it was nice.
It was.
Like I said, it wasn't bad. It was just different.
Yes, it was. And now I feel exhausted because there was a difference in my routine. Even a difference as lovely as spending 3 days with my mom. I'm still tired now. No, really. I'm fine. I'm good. Today was an excellent day. I'm not going to let anything happen to that. So,
amen.
Hooray.
And with that in mind, let's not dilly or dally, since we had to start this show 2 times already. What? I have no idea. Like, I know that the conceit is that, you read me a book and I know nothing about it. I usually know the title or some details.
Yep.
I don't know anything about this.
Well, I told you the title last week, but
that doesn't mean anything.
Okay, so yes. So this book, I'm very excited to tell you about. It is batshit fucking bonkers, completely insane. I loved every second of it. It is called The Frog Prince.
Oh, boy.
The Darvel Exploratory Systems.
Oh, no.
By S.J. Sanders.
Oh, when you have to have a colon in your title.
Yes. It is book 4 of the Darvel Exploratory Systems series. It says it is a novella. The other 3 are full-length novels. This one is available for $2.99 or through Kindle Unlimited. And it was great. It was fantastic. And I'm really looking forward to telling you about it, but I need you to just, prepare yourself. Okay?
No.
Right now. Because I know you're going to need some prep for this one.
Be gentle with me.
I will, baby. I'll be as gentle as I can be. So.
SJ, what have you gotten me into?
So for our content warnings this week, we have lack of autonomy, sci-fi romance with monstrous aliens, graphic sex, strange anatomy, perilous circumstances, and sequences of body horror.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that's why I need you to gird your loins, because I know you have a specific sort of reaction to body horror.
I do.
Yeah, it's not going to be as hard for you because you didn't have to read it. I had to read it. Which is why I was in the Discord yelling at Sen, the listener who recommended this book, on Tuesday. I was like, what did you do? Why? Why did you do this to me? Because for the first 15%, it's
and I am so sparsely in the Discord that I was not. I did make a joke this evening in the Discord. I saw some stuff about prepping me for the body horror. And I was like, hey guys, what did I miss?
Yeah.
So I have a really weird relationship with body horror. I'm a horror fan. Body horror for me is that thing that you like, but also like it feels like it's picking a scab in my own brain.
Oh, okay.
Like I shouldn't be doing this.
Sure.
But
yeah.
it scratches.
It's a weird taboo love that you have. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, God, there's a Scavenger's Reign, I believe it's called, on Max right now. It's supposed to be a brilliant animated series. But I've had a couple of friends be like, no, if you're not into body horror, you cannot do this.
I can't do visual body horror.
Yep. The movie Annihilation, fantastic film, fucked me up.
Yeah. I can't. I wanted to watch Annihilation because it sounded neat as shit. Scary, yes, but not the kind of scary I usually have a problem with, but I can't do that kind of shit.
I watched it while you and our boy child, before we had our second, you were down in Florida with your parents,
you were.
And I watched that. I watched a lot of movies that week, but
you watched all the movies that I didn't want to watch.
Yeah, and I also watched Train to Busan, which as a new father was the stupidest thing I could have done.
Yeah, and you watched the first It.
The first remake.
Yes.
Yeah,
the first Skarsgård It.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was on a lot of shit that time. But anyway,
yeah.
So I will gird my loins as best as I can.
Gird your loins. So our tropes for this week are alien romance, obviously, speculative science fiction, my favorite kind of science fiction, found family, and what I have called diet Mars needs mates. So it's like a Mars needs mates trope, but not quite the same. You'll find out what I mean when we get to it and I explain it. But I thought that was a funny joke. So
just 1 calorie, not Mars needs mates enough.
It's tab. Sorry, that joke's not going to land with anyone.
It's the tab of Mars needs mates.
It's the tab of Mars needs mates.
It will land with your 45-year-old husband.
It will. Okay. So for this week's book, we need a little bit of background in our science fiction because we're going far future. So in the future, humanity has found its place in the galaxy and has made alliances with our nearest galactic neighbors. In this alliance, we are seen as a paragon of peace and unity and prosperity and excellence. Yes, we have united under a single global government, fixed the environment, restored the wilderness, eliminated war and inequality.
I wish I had this kind of optimism.
But
there I should have known with you there's always a big but.
But there is a price. There is a price for this equality, the dirty underbelly of the galactic alliances that nobody in the Galactic Alliance knows about, is what I should say. The Global Federation was created after a series of plagues almost wiped out humanity. They started fixing problems, but they realized there was one specific problem that they weren't going to be able to solve. They could not achieve equality because there were too many people. They couldn't give everybody an equal thing because there were too many people to make it equal, like across the board. Yeah. So what they did was this. They created the Global Citizenship Program. You could earn your way in, quote unquote, by being useful, having a skill, a trade, etc. Or you could buy your way in by being rich, of course.
No shit.
The rest of the world was entered into a lottery program to gain citizenship. It was a one-time lottery. Everybody who won was granted immediate citizenship along with their families and all of their descendants. Anybody who lost was granted the status of non-grata, which in Latin means not welcome. Yeah. They weren't granted rights or citizenship, and the Global Federation can just do whatever the fuck they want with them.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I mean, on the one hand, I'm like, yeah, there are a lot of people, but I don't want to be the one to have to choose.
Yeah, it's really icky. So citizens have access, opportunity, and freedom to come and go as they please throughout the galaxy. They're like I said before, their offspring maintain citizenship status automatically. Non-gratas, the government controls where they live, what they do, if and when they are allowed to marry, if and when they are allowed to procreate. The one chance that they have to earn citizenship is by joining a military program or becoming part of a colonization program.
It's always the fucking military, isn't it?
Just?
Oh.
Isn't it just?
Hey, put your life on the line for $28,000 a year and the possibility of a better life down the line. If you don't die.
Yep. I mean, it would be one thing if it was modeled after some other countries, like, what do they call that? That like
compulsory
service. It would be one thing if it was modeled after other countries' compulsory service, but it's not. Obviously, this is all modeled after colonist ideals. Let's go with that. Colonizer ideals.
I was going to say, those have always worked out so well for everybody.
It's going great.
Okay.
So if you become part of a colonization program, you give up your rights to become the property of the colonization effort, which is run by Darvel Exploratory Systems. But if the colonization is successful, then you gain Earth citizenship as a colonist of that planet. So the shit's wild. Okay. Whatever. It's like the wicked, ugly underbelly of utopia. I love it. I love this premise. I think it's great. I would love it. Well, no, I guess I wouldn't. I was going to say I would love a long form series of these books. They exist. There's a series of these. This is book 4. So I could just go and read them. Congratulations, Katie. S.J. Sanders was thinking for you.
Yeah. You don't have to think.
I don't have to think. I'm pretty.
Exactly. Hey, that's what I said when I proposed to you. I was like, "Hey, you're too pretty to think. Let me do it."
It's exactly what you said. You got down on one knee and you said, "Don't ever let a thought worry that pretty head of yours ever again."
Yeah.
And that's exactly how it worked out. Something trad wife.
Right. Everything you just heard was horseshit.
Absolute horseshit. Woo! But it was fun to pretend. So much fun. Okay, let's talk about this book. All right. Our FMC in this book, her name is Gwen Brody. She is a non-grata who has been assigned to the exploratory division of Darvel Exploratory Systems. She is to be an initial exploratory recruit on the planet XAL 2614. XAL 2614. Yeah. At the start of this book, she's waking up from anesthesia. She's disoriented and she is in pain. She speaks with a doctor who tells her that Darvel, which she refers to in her head as Corp, so I'm just going to call them Corp from now on, has chosen to genetically and surgically modify her for better adaptability on XAL 2614, which is a swamp planet.
Okay.
They have modified and retrofitted her DNA to be semi-aquatic. The way he explains it is like, well, we are all once semi-aquatic. You swam around in your mother's womb for 9 months, so we just turned back the clock on your DNA. I love when sci-fi is like, we just did some shit. Yes, you did, God damn it. I don't have to know the science. I don't care.
Yep.
Give me the techno-babble all day. They turned back the clock on her DNA, so now she's part fish.
Yeah, we're all about coulda.
Basically, exactly. They also outfitted her with the necessary internal and external components to basically make her a frog woman. That's what she is now. She looks down. She's horrified to discover that she has green skin with like bumps that stick up. Her skin is slick. She has like patches of teal flesh on top of an otherwise sort of light green colored flesh. Her nails are now long and thick and black. She has webbed fingers, webbed toes, gills. They did all of this without her consent. She did not know that this was happening. She's told that she woke up. She's been in a coma for a month to heal from everything that they did to her. She went asleep and she was told that she was getting a series of like basic retrofittings for like a telecommunicator and a bunch of like vaccines and shit.
Yeah, but
but instead they made her into a frog.
I was gonna say it's one thing to get a few aftermarket parts. It's
Exactly.
another thing to be.
It's one thing to get a bunch of aftermarket parts and become a frog, but you have to do it with consent. God damn it! She just fell asleep and woke up a frog. That's fucked.
Any like weird like, oh, you should have read the contract.
No.
They just did it?
No, they just did it.
Oh, gross.
And they basically the implication is like, okay, so whether or not she has rights as a non-grata, and there's sort of a gray vagary around that, she is billions of miles away from Earth. And she's never going home because as initial exploratory recruit, she's being dropped on the planet and never leaving again.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, yeah,
they can do whatever the fuck they want to her. Who's going to tell?
No, that's true. I mean, I understand the impulse. Be like, yeah, well, I'm fucking nobody here. I might as well go be nobody on a new planet.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's one thing to be like, I'm nobody here. I might as well sign up for the one opportunity I may have to gain rights, which is what she did, as opposed to just be nobody somewhere else, which is what happened in Ensnared.
Yeah.
She chose to leave Earth because there was nothing there for her.
Yeah.
Gwen left Earth because it was the only way to earn rights. Yeah. Similar but different.
Yeah, I get it.
Anyway, so she is then put back to sleep, to put in stasis. But as she is being put to sleep, the doctor tells her, oh, and one more thing.
Before you go comatose again.
Before you go comatose again, Darvel has greenlit reproduction with you and your other crewmate on this mission. His name is Chris Evans. I see what you did there, S.J. Sanders. That's very cute. They want a longer data set. So you need to procreate so you can make kids who can collect more data for Darvel.
God, that's gross.
It's so fucking gross. It's awful. That is around the time that I was texting, or I was in the Discord going, what the hell are you making me read right now? This is the worst thing. And then Sen responded back with, it's sort of like Ice Planet Barbarians. The first little bit is horrific and then it's better.
Oh, yeah. I remember that conversation.
Yeah.
God, that's so fucked up. And I mean, and I don't ever want to, like, if that's the case, I don't ever want to hear anybody ever again being like, well, China owns TikTok and they're going to take your data. This woman just got turned into a frog person and was told to fuck and make more frog people so that they can just have the data.
Yep, for the data. For the purposes of data.
Nah, I don't understand how my data collection works. You're 64 years old and Facebook knows fucking everything. But sure, TikTok's the fucking problem, Janice. Sorry, I just need to go off on that for a second.
No, it's fine. It's funny. It's kind of hot. I love it.
Oh, good.
Keep going.
And another thing. It really grinds my gears. Get that cloud out of here before I yell at it.
Old man yells at cloud.
Dog.
Old man yells at dog. Okay, so weeks later, we hop back into the story. Gwen is waking up in their very small shelter, which they assembled when they first arrived on the planet. It's like literally a little metal box that is on top of the swamp, and there's like a big dock all the way around it. They have explored parts of the planet now. Their data collection process is slow and monotonous, but they are doing exactly as Darvel tells them to every step of the way, so they don't have any say in what they're doing.
Well, yeah, no shit. If they turn you into a frog person when you comply, what are they going to do to you?
Right?
If you don't.
Exactly. They'll nuke you from space or something. It's fucking wild. So yeah, but she has gotten used to like traveling on the terrain. She's much better at climbing now. This planet is a lot of swampland. And it seems like most of the trees are sort of like I think they are in swamps, but I've never actually seen a swamp tree. Like the root system sort of rises out of the water.
Yeah.
And they travel on that and sort of in the tree limbs to stay out of the water because they don't know what's underneath. They have very recently started probing under the water, but they don't know anything else. Things are monotonous, they're boring, they're slow, and now they're also awkward because Chris has started broaching the subject of procreation with her, which when I read that, I was like, you are going to be on this planet with her for the rest of your life, and you couldn't give it a year?
Get to know each other?
Nothing? Before you were like, time to get my dick wet. What the fuck, Chris? What the fuck?
Time to get my new frog dick wet.
Seriously, completely messed up. So she is annoyed with him, and she is extra annoyed because she has already decided she's not doing this. Like, no matter what Darvel wants out of her, it's still her body at the end of the day. So she's not getting pregnant no matter what it takes. She's not doing it. So for now, she's just turning Chris down. So Gwen wakes up that morning. The big light is on. As I said, the big light is on in the hut. And it's early as fuck. And she starts yelling for Chris, like, why did you turn the lights on? Where's the coffee? But she can't find him anywhere. He isn't inside the shelter at all. And it's not hard to tell because it's very, very small. So she pokes her head outside and she doesn't see him out there either. And then she starts hearing this really eerie, sort of pulsing, repetitive, song-like sound. She thinks it's beautiful, but she also thinks it's really scary. And she thinks that it's Chris making this noise. She starts yelling at him to like put down whatever thing it is that's making that sound and come back inside. This is how horror movies start. But it gets closer. Chris still hasn't come out. The song is right next to her. She is now completely terrified, and she looks down into the swamp water and makes eye contact with something, bolts inside, and slams the door shut button. She then, from that point on, accesses everything via view screen. They have several cameras placed on the outside of the hut, but the one that's right in the front door, like a Ring doorbell, is what we see most of what happens on. So that's how I pictured it, was like on a Ring doorbell, which I thought was really funny because it has that slight like fish eye.
Yeah.
So from her viewing screen, she watches this creature as it climbs out of the water to stand on the dock. She says it is a more natural version of what she and Chris are supposed to be. It's a humanoid frog person. She thinks that it has masculine features. She's pretty sure. Mostly she's going based on vibes, but she starts calling it he after that. It has a more flattened nasal structure with slits for nostrils. I pictured Lord Voldemort. I couldn't help it. Violet skin that sort of shifts in color in the light the way that like frog skin would. He has splotches of bumps on his skin that are green and yellow. They complement his features somehow, but they're that same bump, sort of feels like a pearl under the skin as she describes it. And they are on his face and his chest and upper torso and back. Instead of hair, he has long rubbery strings in a crest down his head, which are braided into elaborate braids. And his ears are long and pointed. And he sort of looks like a book boyfriend, and he wears black stirrup pants. That's it. Just tight black stirrup pants.
Why?
Because, as he says later in the book, it is very cumbersome to swim in clothing.
So then don't wear anything.
Well, but I don't know why, wears pants. Doesn't make any sense to me. It actually really makes extra less sense because never mind. Because he has a dick pouch. Like, we'll get into it later. But like some of our other MMCs who have monster parts, he doesn't even have to worry about his dick swinging around.
Yeah, man.
He's just wearing stirrup pants, which is great. But anyways, and bonus, he's always wet because this is a swamp planet, so he's all muscly and wet all the time. Yeah. So he sits down outside of her hut for hours. As night falls, all of the colorful parts of his body and his eyes begin to bioluminesce so she can see him in the dark watching her.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Chris never returns, and she is starting to believe that whatever this thing that's waiting outside has killed him.
That's fine.
She calls him an alien in her mind this entire time, but the entire time I was like, this is the native. You're the alien colonizer.
Exactly.
What? But he's a native. In my notes, I call him the native.
It's like when I used to engage in that Michigan tradition of going to Canada once you turn 19 to drink.
Yep.
Because we live so close.
Yep.
And going over there and being like, I guess I'll have like a PBR, and they'll be like, that's $10. And I'll be like, why? It's PBR. And they're like, this is Canada, dummy. If you want a cheap beer, get a Molson. It's like a nickel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh yeah, duh. I'll get a Molson, and that's how I started drinking Molson.
How did we get there from aliens?
Because she thinks he's the alien.
Oh.
And so like me going across the border going, I'll have a domestic. No, dummy.
Yeah.
This is not domestic. This is domestic.
Yeah, you're having it imported over here. Okay, yeah. I get it. Okay, cool. So Frog Guy starts to sing. His neck skin puffs up like a frog.
Oh.
The song, again, is haunting. It's beautiful. It does not stop. The computer, her translator, which is never fully explained, but I think is sort of like inside her head, begins to parse out sounds and translate what he's saying. It takes a long time for that to happen. She goes to sleep knowing that it is watching her through the door. basically. The next morning, it's still there. It's still singing. She can hear some individual sounds now. Wear, hold, sing, and a word that the translator doesn't understand, Jymlina. Jymlina. Lina. Jymlina. And the song is starting to have an effect on her. She is horny. She is horny as fuck. She's feeling it very acutely in her body in a way that is super uncomfortable, and she's not happy with this. This is when she starts to remember some stuff about frogs, and she starts like space Googling stuff about frogs. Some species use a song as a mating signal. That song is only supposed to like call potential mates, but she hypothesizes that by mixing her mammalian DNA with amphibian DNA, they might have triggered some hyper response.
Because I'm human, I get horny.
Yep. So instead of just calling her as a potential mate, it's making her horny as a potential mate. Sure. I'm on board. Let's do it.
I'm going to start doing that. It's going to...
Yep. Please do. Please just start frog singing. That's so funny.
Does it do anything to you?
No, it doesn't do a damn thing.
Okay. Never mind.
At that point, she starts like freaking out. She's like, Corp probably even told Chris that this was a possibility. Wasn't he even like making weird throat noises in the days before he disappeared? Like, oh my God, were they counting on this? Those motherfuckers. Like, she gets so pissed. I loved it. I thought it was great. The translator starts spitting out more words like where and found and come out. Come out, Jymlina. Female, do not be shy. Skipping past the fact that he calls her a female because I hate it. It's a squick of mine. The translator seems to be done now. She understands everything that he says, and she also responds to him, and he understands her. So whatever this technology is that's not explained in the book, we are now translating things.
All right.
She knows that he's definitely trying to lure her out of her dwelling. So she watches him as he comes back up onto the dock to talk into the camera. He tells her that Chris is gone. That Chris's song did not call to her, but his song does, so she shouldn't fight it. That he has long waited for the female that would respond to his call, and now that it has happened, blah 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 blah, stay with him forever, etc. etc. She tells him he's insane and to go away.
I do not need this.
Yeah, but he doesn't. He just goes back to his tree and watches, and that's all she does for the day. The next morning, she's having an even stronger reaction to the song. She's starting to have a physical response to the song. She is painfully aroused, but she also has really sensitive skin. Corp requires that she take a chemical shower every day to remove the naturally occurring amphibian slime that's on them. So now she has chemical burns on top of everything because her skin is so sensitive.
Gross.
Yeah, it's awful. So she calls Corp and reaches her contact, explains the situation. Chris has disappeared. This new thing is here and it's singing and I'm horny about it. He calls the doctor, who is the one who gave her all of these grafts and things to begin with. He's like pretty, what did I say? He is pretty overall sci-fi future unethical, as I put in my notes. Sci-fi future unethical doctor. Very specific kind of trope or character. They have a discussion about what's going on, her and the doctor and her corp handler. They determined that the probe that they released the other day into the water had flashing lights, which probably signaled the native species who have bioluminescent parts that there was a mateable female nearby.
Oops.
Sure. It's as good a hypothesis as any. They swear that they did not know that there was even native species on this planet, but they also have a history of not disclosing when they have found native species on a possible planet.
I was going to say, and also you turned me into a frog without my consent.
Yeah.
So you'll forgive me if I don't fucking believe you.
Yeah. They tell her to lock herself inside, go about business as usual until they come collect her in 1 month's time. They have dumped too much money into her to just leave her there. So they're going to come and collect her and put her in stasis until they have another use for her.
What?
Because she's not a person to them. What the fuck?
We're going to come fetch our property.
I hate it. I hate it.
That's
so
you,
gross.
By the way.
It's so gross. Ugh. So she hangs up on Corp, and she walks over to the door. She considers leaving like right then and there, but she opens the door, and there isn't just the one anymore. There are dozens of eyes staring out at her from the trees. So she barricades herself inside. The following night, the eyes are still there. The original dude is now getting angry. He's hissing. Others are starting to hiss back. She's concerned that this might become dangerous. And also she can't stay here because Corp is coming. And they're going to collect all of their shit, including her.
Yeah.
So she's leaving. She has packed a bug-out bag with a few days' worth of supplies. She coats herself in an oil that they have found from a local flower, helps with bugs. And then she climbs out through a hatch in the ceiling in the dark. All of them are bioluminescent. She may be light green, but in the dark, they can't see her for squat. So she sneaks off up into the trees and walks away. Several hours later, she's been navigating through the trees, only walking in the branches. She hasn't heard any frog song in hours, so she thinks she's safe. So she settles down and she goes to sleep. And then a very gentle tap on her shoulder wakes her up the next morning. It's him.
I was going to say, it's not Chris, is it?
It's not Chris. The first frog dude has followed her all the way across the swamp by scent alone. He tells her that she smells like the Gymlina flower, which is why he calls her that. Privately, though, Gymlina is also the name of their rain goddess in his culture, and that is what he's been calling her ever since he saw her, because she's so beautiful.
Because, again, book boyfriends have to just on the spot come up with a nickname.
Incredible nicknames. Yes. Incredible nicknames every single time. So, okay. This is our MMC. He introduces himself as Zir Garlorthal Wardaroon Bia. Zir Garlorthal Wardaroon Bia. There we go. Bia is his species, and Wardaroon is his province, or the area in which he lives.
Okay.
He is the prince of the Wardaroon clan, which stretches from the Zungali River down to the Aprichan Mountains.
Of course, everybody knows that.
And he is her mate.
Oh.
Just call him Zir. There's no need for formalities.
But you skipped over a very important part.
Yeah.
He just announced himself as her mate.
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
Yeah, he did that.
I just want to make sure that I heard that correctly.
So there's this sort of arrogance around him, like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Gwen mentions multiple times in her head. I didn't necessarily catch it as arrogance, as more as confidence, the extreme confidence of being a prince. Yeah. I guess he's got confident energy, but I didn't think he was arrogant, because I think arrogance comes with sort of an undertone of cruelty.
I would say cruelty, but also unearned confidence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But cruelty, or not, arrogance feels like I'm better than you. Confidence feels like I'm great.
Yeah, there you go. I would say that's the distinction. Confidence is I'm good enough. Arrogance is I'm better than you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So he's confident. I don't think he's arrogant.
All right. Fair enough.
She argues with him, saying that this is all just biology. She doesn't actually want this. He doesn't actually want this. He doesn't want what he thinks he wants. He just wants what his biology tells him he wants. And she is not going to just tie herself to him for life because she's horny.
Right.
And he's like, okay, well, but it is unheard of to breed without mating. So what? I don't know about that one. That's... And she says, well, okay, so forgive me. I don't want to marry you right now, basically. He says that but the mating song is always right. If it resonates with you, it's right. It's basically a Fated Mates. Sort of like a Fated Mates.
Is he humming that new Hozier tune?
Oh my God, right? You're too sweet for me. And she just throws herself into the swamp naked.
But
just
the frog version's like...
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. He's the frog Hozier. That's why he gets the...
Frozier,
frog Hozier. Sings his incredible song of yearning from the trees. Sounds like whiskey and crying.
Oh, God.
God, it's so good. Okay. he says that if she doesn't want a mating, can he at least ease her, because it looks like she's in pain. He can't stand to see her suffer like this. So please,
let me fuck you for your your
let
sake.
let me do something here. And she might be arguing, but she is sweating, keening, rubbing herself against him, like absolutely desperate to get her clothes off. She is having a full biological response to whatever is happening right now. So
but she's the whole time she's like going, stop.
Yeah, but eventually she's like, okay, well, you know what? I'm not mating you right now, but yeah, fix that. Like, fix this. This is killing me. This becomes an absolutely fantastic sex scene after that. So it focuses a lot on the sensation. It's been over 24 hours since she burned her skin with the corp chemicals, so now she can feel as she was intended to feel without dulling her skin or the feelings on her skin with chemicals. So everything feels incredible. He turns her around to face the tree, fingers her for one orgasm. There's a lot of great talk about the beautiful differences in her body from a usual Bia body, and it's really great. And he finally fucks her. We as the reader sort of get to play guess the weird anatomy based on sensations because it's not explained in that scene. But here's what we do get. Warm and firm, yet shockingly flexible, stroking like a tongue, a hard bulge around the base of the sex pressed against her, and a hard note above pressed against her ass.
I was going to say there are some Omega
vibes.
Yeah.
There's no knot. As far as I can tell, she doesn't get knotted.
No, but the that, and then the whole the heat almost.
Yeah, she's in heat. They refer to this as heat later. He has a node like the Ice Planet Barbarian dudes had that weird spur. Yeah.
I don't like the words. I mean, out of this context, in a vacuum, spur and node, two perfectly fine words. But when you try to attach them to a dick,
suddenly Carl's uncomfortable with it.
Yeah. Fuck me, I
guess.
But not with a dick that has a spur or a node. Node, thank you.
Oh, womp womp. So Gwen is coming repeatedly, but the need is only growing every single time she does, and the frustration is getting worse and worse. She's clawing at the tree. She's feeling violent, and she wants to attack this guy. He is purring in her ear like he knows that it's bad. This is why they turn their females to face away. Because it would be dangerous. It might feel good, but it would be dangerous at the same time. She's like, well, then turn me around and find out how good it would feel, motherfucker. She's mad. Mm-hmm. He's another time. And eventually he comes. And when he comes, I will spare you, Carl, the description of the ejaculate if you want me to.
Oh, but the listeners.
Yeah.
Think of the listeners.
All right. So, okay. The genitalia goes rigid, and the ejaculate is thick, coming out with force that she can feel in a very large quantity.
Okay.
There you go.
That's not so bad.
But it's not thick.
Oh,
she focused on the fact that it was thicker than cum, and she could tell. How can you tell? How thick is it? Is it coming? Is he coming Elmer's glue? What the fuck?
There's oobleck in my twat.
Yeah, seriously. Non-Newtonian liquids in my twat.
Was that cream corn?
Ew. Oh, that's worse somehow. Because it's food, I think. I don't like that at all.
I know that's why you don't like it. Because it is food.
Because it's food.
And it's a gross food.
It's such a gross food. We have to move on from this right now.
And I was the one you were worried about.
Yeah. Seriously. So after they come down from this incredible sexual experience, screaming into the open swamp. Sure, yeah. Just birds were screaming and flying away from the cacophony of their love, and I was just like, yes.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Birds are like, we want to go home, but there's frogs fucking in our tree. These humanoid frogs fucking
Gerald, get them out.
Yeah. Get the kids.
Get the kids. The frog people are fucking in our tree.
Go save the kids.
Oh my God.
The kids are like, no, we're good.
Nope. Leave my mother. She can stay. Okay. Afterwards, she curls up in his arms and decides that it is nice and it's okay that it's nice. It feels nice and that's okay right now. So he spends her sleepy time watching her and recalling her, like his introduction to her from his perspective. So we get all of that in sort of a flashback. So he followed the vibrations of the water probe, believing that it was the mating vibrations of a female Bia. His sister found him with that object and sort of they had a good laugh about it, thinking like, oh, he wanted to fuck a robot. Yeah. But then they caught sight of the two settlers and followed them to their weird metal hut. He thought that she was beautiful and strange, but that they were a mated couple, so he left her alone and went back wherever the hell he came from. But his sister was fascinated by Chris, and she snuck out and went to go see him again. And when Zier caught up with her, Chris had already come outside and had sung his shitty, terrible song for her, and she had responded to it. So now Chris has mated to the princess. That's what happened to Chris.
It was the frog version of Paralyzer by Finger 11.
Is that the name of that band?
Yeah.
Finger 11?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. We had a conversation about that recently because you were
know
like,
what? I got to forget that. I got to forget that, and then you brought it back.
God, I'm really sorry. I wish you didn't have to remember that.
I'll forget it again soon.
Yeah.
Don't worry. My memory is shit. So Chris and the princess are now living happily together back at the pod, which is their community. He wants the same for himself, and he thinks, well, this is a no-brainer now that I've fucked her. She'll come home with me now. She wakes up. There is some like cataloging of differences that happens. So she has breasts all the time and not just when she's lactating for offspring. His genitals are contained internally. She has hair. He has a crest. When she stands up like a human being. When he stands up like a fucking frog.
What are the odds?
There is a description of the muscles in his thighs and calves extending and the skin of his legs expanding to accommodate the stretch of his long fucking frog legs. And I was like, oh no, I don't like that at all.
Kermit did not prepare me for this.
No, he had little tiny legs that just flopped around. This guy's legs are all fucked up.
This guy Kermit skipped leg day. Zier never skipped leg day.
Never. Seriously, it was not a deal breaker for me, but that 1 second I was like, nope. Can't do this. Don't like that.
I mean, I've got big legs, but not like
not
that.
Like that. My notes just say, it's a goddamn frog book. What the fuck?
God damn it, Sen.
Because sometimes I have to remind myself. Anyway, so he tells her it's time to go home, and she's like, no, it's not. He is completely exasperated with her at this point, but she does point out even in her own thoughts that there's no aggression in it. He's just really annoyed that his girlfriend doesn't want to go home and meet his mom yet.
Yeah.
He's like, look, I am mated. My scent is different now. If I go home without you, people are going to ask a lot of weird questions. And we need to be focusing on going home and preparing, and building our pod and serving our community. The other guy understood that. Why don't you understand that? And that's the first she's heard about Chris. So she's like, okay, sorry, pause the record. I thought you killed him. What? He's alive? He's like, I wouldn't kill him. Like, I thought he was your mate, but I wouldn't kill him. Like, we don't do that. And that's where he says,
we're not humans.
Right? Seriously, we're not monsters like humans. That's where he explains, like, look, mating can get competitive sometimes, but we're never going to kill each other over it. They have a ratio of 3-to-1 male to female. That is the biological ratio that they have just sort of settled on evolutionarily. That's just what happens. That means 2/3 of all males born, their lineage just never continues on.
Yep.
Okay, that's fine. That's why I call it diet Mars needs mates. There aren't enough mates, but also they don't care about it. It's not like a regular Mars needs mates book where they're like, our species is dying and I have to fuck you. It's like, I haven't found a mate yet. I tried real hard. I sang for hundreds of females. They didn't care. It's nice to meet you though. Yep. Hi.
That's that. I know we joked earlier about how I proposed. That's actually how I proposed to Katie. I said my species was dying, and she and she fell for it.
Yeah, I did. And turns out he's just human, guys. Yeah. You lied to me.
I said, yeah.
It's wiggity wiggity whack. Anyway, so he explains all of that to her. He explains that Chris is back home with his sister now. He's fine. He's good. She says, well, she's also fine exactly where she is. And he's like, yeah, for now, but you've left your shelter. Like, you were safe there. You're not safe now. And that's when she explains that her shelter is no longer safe either because the people who put her here are coming back for her. They will destroy any evidence that they were ever on this planet. So he needs to instruct his people to stay very far clear. And then he needs to go and get that probe because if it's calling dudes, then they're going to get themselves blown up. So they need to go and turn it off. He says he doesn't want to leave her to go and do that because she does not understand the dangers of where she is. Like, there's wildlife she hasn't met yet. There's monstrous creatures that will kill her. There's a bunch of stuff she shouldn't eat, touch, Yeah. You can't just wander off onto an alien planet, Gwen, even with all of your weird genetic modifications. And then she starts to change her tune pretty quickly. She's like, okay, I guess you can take me back to your home, but first take me to get the probe. We'll deal with the rest of it later. And before she can do anything else, he gathers her up into his arms and uses his crazy ass frog legs to just hop down the trees and directly into the swamp.
And you were worried about me.
It's the frog thing. Now that I'm talking about it out loud, it actually really does bother me a little.
Now that I think about it more and say it.
I keep picturing Michigan J. Frog.
Hello, my honey. Hello, my darling.
That's his name, in case you didn't know. That's that frog's name. I just keep picturing him, but sexy somehow.
Rule 34 comes for us all.
It makes me want to cry a little bit. Okay, so after they dive down into the water, there's this really great sequence of like underwater traveling, beautiful scenes of sunlight through shimmering blue and weird plants and cool fish. And Zier loves this place. It is evident in the reception of it, even as he is very familiar with it. He loves this place. They find and disable the probe. He breaks it just because he's like, if it ever gets turned on again by accident, a bunch of dudes are going to think that a very horny woman wants to fuck. So we can't. She's still hesitant to go back to the clan after that. And he confronts her about it. He says, wait, are you just embarrassed of me? Because if you are, like, that'll break his heart, but he will let her leave. He's not going to drag her anywhere. And she says, no, that's not what it is at all. The things are actually moving really fast, and she feels a lot of strong feelings toward him. But the whole mating instinct thing freaks her out, and she is worried that she will be rejected by his people. He says, no, you don't have to worry about that. Like, they're just going to be happy that I'm happy, and I will make sure that you're happy. That's my job. She says, but I'm not, like, you're not responsible for my feelings, right? And he says, no, but in a long-term relationship like a mating, I am.
Yeah.
And you are responsible for mine. And making you happy makes me happy. And it's like an Ouroboros of happiness, but it requires like constant work and effort. And she's starting to understand it. She's getting it. She gets it. Okay. So they go to his pod. The pod is never like fully described, but it's like this wide, sprawling, sort of large village or maybe small city. Everything's built very low to the ground. He takes her through the market to the White Palace, where his family lives. He is a third son, unmated. He's been doing a lot of other stuff. He hasn't been home in several rotations. What are those? I don't know. I'm guessing years. He takes her there to meet his mother, the Queen Azana. Yes, Azana, who is very gracious and very welcoming, very excited that her son has come home. She starts planning a feast. It's prodigal son time. She's super happy to meet Gwen. Everyone is really gracious. Gwen is really excited that everybody's just happy. He's like, see, I told you, everyone will just be happy for me. I meant that. After they wrap things up with Queen Azana, they then go to their new home, which is a wing on the palace that has been built for them for their eventual use for when he was going to find his mate and live in the palace with her. They have a whole suite of rooms and in apartments and stuff. He starts showing her around. This place is kind of cool. They have, what do they call it? A hydro system, which provides power, but they don't have anything that's battery operated as far as I can tell. And I don't even know that they have things like what we would think of like radio or communications, but they do have electricity.
And this is all like underwater?
No, as far as I can tell, it's not underwater.
I wasn't sure.
I went back and reread that chapter twice, trying to figure out if it was underwater. I couldn't.
So everything is hydro powered, but not necessarily underwater.
Yeah, I
not
can't
like an
tell.
Aquaman situation.
It might be I can't
but you
tell.
don't know. Okay,
she can breathe underwater, but are they talking underwater? They aren't making any sort of reference to that.
I wasn't sure if they were like just sort of like that suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
Of like anytime there are underwater beings, they can just talk.
Yeah, they just talk like normal, and the bubbles don't come out of their mouths and like obscure your face and shit. Yeah, I don't know. Either way, so he's showing her around his room. She starts going into heat again. She didn't really realize, I don't think, that she was going to be going into heat for several days, but he is prepared. And so they're going to have some sex now. It's time for some more sex, and it's time for us to discover the weirdest dick I've ever heard of. I'm so sorry, Ari Johnson. You held this position for 2 weeks. S.J. Sanders is taking it from you with this one.
Oh, no.
So,
okay,
his dick is kind of like a giant semi-autonomous, constantly wiggling tongue.
Oh, fuck. Come
on his penis. Like, I can't think of any other way to describe this thing. It was not well described.
Try.
It was not well. I am still confused.
I am confusion.
Exactly. But I think I'm getting pretty close with tongue-like
all right
organ, but big. And on his pelvis.
Not better.
Yeah. And from the way like it's described how it like moves inside her, it strokes and like it's okay. Anyway, she decides on seeing this, challenge motherfucking accepted. And she has him lie down on the bed. He does not know what she's doing because they don't do this on beds. Yeah. They have a mating pole in the corner, a big wooden pole in the corner for her to scratch the shit out of while they fuck.
Yeah.
That's how they do this. So he's like, what do you mean get on the bed? And she's like, trust me. And she straddles him and basically lets his tongue or his tongue dick lick her for a while, which, okay. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. That makes a goodly amount of sense. And then she sits on it, and he is transported because, again, they don't do this. Mm-hmm. Riding is not a thing the Bia do. So she blows his mind into another fucking dimension for a while until he flips her over. He is, again, considers flipping her over onto her stomach the way that he would, but he doesn't because he wants to see her face and he also wants to see her titties bounce and play with her nipples.
Yeah.
And he wants to play with her clitoris, which is a thing that apparently his people do not have. So he's playing with that, and then he extends his stupid ass long frog tongue to lick her clit while he fucks her with his weird tongue dick. And everybody's coming and screaming, glory, glory. Hallelujah.
Oh, God.
Afterwards, they curl up together. They whisper some I love yous to each other. Then they have a nap. The last chapter is essentially an epilogue. 5 days later, after the heat and rut have finally ended, they are at the feast which the queen has been preparing for their arrival. They are now the newly mated prince and princess. They are enjoying the company, and then Gwen finally catches up with Chris, who is with his new mate / her new sister-in-law, Ira, and they talk for a little bit about their new lives amongst the Bia, found family, cuteness, lovely things. They all lived very strangely ever after. The end. That was The Frog Prince. Thank you so much.
I
think I broke my husband with that one.
No. Maybe no. But I was gonna say the other day when I was like, "Hey, my sister helped me figure out what I'm gonna get you for Mother's Day," and you were like, "Oh, I don't know what to get you for Father's Day." I want a mating pole. I just want a big pole in the house, and I just want to tell people it's our mating pole because you'll scratch the shit out of me when.
I mean, you're making a joke, but all I'm hearing is project.
See, I know what I'm doing.
And I will totally install a big fucking wooden pole in our room and tell people that I would otherwise scratch the shit out of you because that's funny as fuck.
And we got to just scratch the fuck out of that log. 16 years.
Get out my gardening rake, my gardening fork, and just like scratch the fuck out.
Yeah, it could just go at any time. Yeah, we're due for a new one. You gotta
looks like a really used scratching post is what you're saying.
Like a really used scratching post. That's why we keep a shop vac in the closet upstairs. Clean up all the splinters.
That's why I'm so into the smell of sawdust. Now it makes sense.
Just shredding it. Some bite marks in it.
Oh my god, yes.
Holy fuck.
I was into that joke. Yeah, baby. What are you into?
I am into a video game. Called Hi-Fi Rush.
Yes.
It's been out for a while, but it only recently came to consoles, or specifically not consoles. It's been on Xbox for a while, but it finally came to PlayStation. And I've been playing it for a couple of weeks sporadically when I managed to drag myself away from the show, the MLB, the show, not this show. And it's magnificent. It is. If I have functionally grown up alongside video games, which is something that I've said to you before.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in 1978, right around the time the first home consoles started hitting. I grew up with a Coleco. I grew up with an Atari, Nintendo. Like I've had this as I have aged, as the industry has aged. And I said the other day that if all of the garbage that I've played, things that seemed great at the time weren't.
Yeah.
If we've evolved to the point where I get to play Hi-Fi Rush, it was all worth it.
Yeah.
It is gorgeous and it is fun, and it let me beat the fuck out of a giant robot to the rhythm of a Nine Inch Nails song.
Yes.
It is a third person like combat. There's an RPG element, but there's also a rhythm element where your attacks do more damage, or you can multiply the effects of your attack if you are executing your attacks in rhythm. And the game has these very excellent visual cues. Your character Chai is always snapping. There's things that are pulsating and moving.
Yep.
There's
you have
always
a cat who will indicate things with its tail.
Yep, 808, which is the name of is the model. I can't remember, as a Roland 808 was a famous like drum machine.
It's also the area code for Atlanta?
I don't think so. Take a goog. But anyway, it's a magnificent game. I believe it's been on Xbox Game Pass for a long time. It's on PlayStation now. It might have been on PC as well. So if you or a loved one or just a person you happen to know that likes video games, check out Hi-Fi Rush.
I was entirely wrong. That is the area code for Honolulu, Hawaii. My bad.
Close.
So close. So close.
Everybody knows it's just a quick hop, skip, and a
jump. Yep, right from Atlanta to Hawaii.
A 38-hour car ride to Hawaii.
Yeah. To a state that's not even really a state. Anyway.
No, it's totally a state.
It is, but did we get it right? Did we get it the right way?
No.
Did we?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right. What are you into?
What am I into? I'm into smells, which is okay. So
not good ones, folks.
no, great ones. Okay, so my friend Murph got me a sample kit of these beautiful perfume oils from a company called Alchemia Perfumes. Not a sponsor, but you could be. I would please.
Cheapsmutpod at
gmail.com. Yes. So I told them a bunch of smells that I really love, and they put them all into this I don't know, crazy alchemical system that Alchemic has, and Alchemic sent me 6 samples, and they all smell incredible. But one in particular, when I smelled it, I went, I now understand that Fated Mate scent shit. It smelled so fucking good. I'm wearing it now. It smells so good. And one of the strongest smells in it is sawdust, which is why I made that joke earlier, because apparently I really enjoy the smell of sawdust.
I love when I grew up, I spent time on my dad's farm. I love the smell of sawdust. Yeah.
This one, it smells like a lot like barn. It smells like sawdust and hay and a couple of different flowery kind of things, and then like saddle soap and leather, and it smells so good. It smells so good. Anyway, that's what I'm into. I am into really good smelling stuff.
All right. Well, I guess I'll put that as in the link to the show notes. What are we reading next week?
Next week, we are reading Scared Stiff, books 1 and 2 by Bjorn Wild. They are another serialized style, like Bro and the Beast.
Uh-huh.
So they're short, and I want to read the first 2 of these ones, and I'm very, very excited. The cover makes it look like gay Scooby-Doo.
It does. Yeah,
I'm thrilled.
We recently have gotten to know Bjorn on TikTok
on the most surface of levels.
Exactly.
Yes.
Just becoming familiar with him, and I love the covers.
Yes.
It has.
And he does them himself, which is
really
great. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so great. The covers gave me big like Lumberjanes energy.
Yes. The style
and the vibe, and it was really evocative, and so I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm super thrilled for this one. So next week, Scared Stiff 1 and 2 by Bjorn Wild.
Well, we have that to look forward to, but in the meantime, you can find us on social media. We are on Instagram and TikTok at Cheap Smut. If you would like to send us an email, please do so, cheapsmutpod@gmail.com. In the show notes, if you click on our link tree, the top link will take you to this book. It is not an affiliate link. We don't get money for it. We just like to support the authors. You know what we do get money for? Our Patreon. And all we ask is for $1 a month. And we get that from you, perhaps, and from these fine folks: Stephanie Hawkins, Gemma, Lady Squishy Buns, Tia Esk, Rob Gatika, Angela McNichols, Katie Hurd, Gwendolyn Harper, Seneca O, and Rebecca K. The music that you hear on this and every episode is called Nostalgia by Mackay Beats. You can find it, along with thousands of other songs, free of charge for you to use at the Free Music Archive, freemusicarchive.org.
I believe that's everything that we have to say to you today. So, listener, if there is a book in you, write it. And if there's fucking in it, I'll read it.
And then she will come on this show and squick me out a little bit and for your entertainment.
And probably squick out myself. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.